Hopefully that should help. All right, promises. So as humans, we give or receive promises to do some activity at some point in time, like how we said class today is 4 o'clock and not 3, and the promise was fulfilled. So if we keep our promise, we make others happy. If we don't, it's contentment. Promise in JavaScript has something in common with the above examples. So a promise is a way to handle asynchronous operations in JavaScript. Uh, as you can tell from the meaning of asynchronous, it's like something that doesn't um, follow the set order of things. Generally, JavaScript code is executed from top to bottom. So essentially, something would have to be completed before the next one runs, that kind of thing. But asynchronous code, well, it can finish at any time. There's no guarantee that it will finish before the line of code after it. Okay, so promises are a way to handle them. It allows handlers with an asynchronous actions eventual success value or failurism. So this lets asynchronous methods return values like synchronous methods. Okay. So because generally, if you run an asynchronous piece of code, you run it without trying to handle it in an asynchronous manner. If you check the return from that, it wouldn't give you the return you're expecting. It would just automatically return a promise, and you now need to work with that promise. You need to deal with the promise in a particular way to get what you want out of it. Okay. So it lets asynchronous methods return values like synchronous methods. Instead of immediately returning the final value, the asynchronous method returns a promise to supply the value at some point in the future. So a promise is in one of these states. It's pending, which means it's neither fulfilled nor rejected. We're still waiting for that. Or it is fulfilled, meaning that the operation completed successfully, or it's rejected, meaning that the operation failed. So a pending promise can either be fulfilled with a value or rejected with a reason as error. So when either of these options happen, the associated handlers queued up by promises then method are called. We're going to see what that then method of a promise is. If the promise has already been fulfilled or rejected, when a corresponding handler is attached, the handler will be called so there's no race condition between asynchronous operation completing and its handlers being attached. This is pretty crazy, especially the whole race condition they're talking of. But I think we're going to look at these methods, then we'll try to understand what race condition is for asynchronous operations. So anyway, promises have this .then and .catch methods. I hope this .prototype you're seeing here is not confusing to you. After our class on classes, prototype is just the building block, the template for promises. So promise has a .then method and a .catch method in their prototypes. And these these methods also return promises. So they can be, this one is for getting the value. Like if, they said, where did they say that? Fulfilled. When the operation completes successfully, it will call this .then method. If the process failed, means it's rejected, it will call the .catch method. So they can be changed. You can actually have a promise and you say .then this and then .catch this. So if it works completely, .then will work. You won't get anything in the catch. If it fails, You won't see anything here, but you'll see something here. So that's generally how it goes. So to understand promise very well, we need to understand callbacks first. Let's see the following callback from the,
Sorry,
yeah,
Eddie.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, is this class being recorded? Because I have to leave in a bit. I need to go and do something very urgent.
Yeah, it's recorded.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, have fun. Okay, let's see the following callbacks. From the following code blocks, you will notice the difference between callbacks and promises. So I think let's see a callback function which can take two parameters. The first parameter is error and the second is result. So if the parameter is false, there will not be error. Otherwise, it will return an error. Yeah, this is what I was looking for. So let's take this and go look at it. See console logs. So we can use Coca. Although at some point in this lesson, we will not be able to use Coca. Okay, so first of all, we have this callback. And then we have a function, do something, that accepts a callback. Okay, so I think we should look at the callback first. So the callback has error and result. And it's saying if error, like if there's something here, then it should return console log the error. But if not error, return result. This is straightforward, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So two things are passed in. If this first one is not null or undefined or some falsy value, then it's going to return it. But if this is a falsy value, then it will return result. So now this callback is being used in this function called do something. And in do something, it says there'll be a set timeout. Some time will pass, and after that time passes 2 seconds or 2000 milliseconds. After that time passes, a skills array is created, and we call that callback with two things, an error and skills. So you can see, because there was we're doing the calling here, do something, callback. So because we passed in an error, this is what we get out of it. It did not go well. But if you change this now to, say, an empty string, so you saw the wait, right? It waited 2 seconds, and then it now returns this. So this is quite important to note. I hope for what we've seen so far, there are no issues. Yes, no issues. So they're just doing what we did. Since there was an error here, it's going to print that error. But if we make the error a falsy value, then it will print the array of skills. So after refreshing our minds on callbacks, we can go look at the promise constructor. So promise, as you can tell, can be created with the new keyword, just like most of those weird um, we call them objects that can be created from classes. So yeah, we can create a promise using the promise constructor. We just say new, it's capital promise and it's parenthesis. And in the parenthesis, you pass a callback. Yeah. So inside that callback now, it's expecting two functions, a resolve function and a reject function. Resolve function for if whatever it is you wanted to happen happens successfully, and a reject function if somehow it fails. So like that. Let's take that. So yeah, this is the syntax. So we could say something, something, something. If it works out, resolve this. If it doesn't, reject this. Anyway, let's move on a bit. So yeah, we have this new promise, and it's called do promise. So once again, they do love their set timeouts because, I mean, we kind of want to make it look asynchronous. A promise by its nature is asynchronous, but if there's no specified time, then, then it's just going to end up being executed immediately. So it would look to you like, it's not asynchronous. So whenever they're doing examples on promise, it's very common to see set timeout with some time to just give you that impression of time passing. So anyway, again, we have this array of skills. So we're saying if skills.length is greater than 0, resolve skills. Else, reject, something wrong has happened. You see how similar it is to this other situation. This place we were saying if there's an error at all, return the error, else return skills or return results. But over here now, I think it's here. Over here now, we're now basing it on the result. Like if there's actually results to return the results or resolve the results, or else reject with some kind of error message. So let's go check this out. Okay, so we have do promise. Again, it's a new promise that does a bunch of things. I like that 2 seconds wait. So, I do hope this is clear enough. Should I increase it or this size is okay? Hello?
Please
Should I
increase
increase the
that
size
small.
or leave it like this?
Small.
Okay.
Increase,
like
sir. Thank you. No, increase.
Okay.
Did you hear me? Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
increased. Okay. Yeah. Seems there's a lag. All right. So you can see the dot then shows something, right? We said console log results if there's a result, and we see this. Here we say console log error, but we're not seeing anything. So let's go ahead and put an empty array. And wait 2 seconds, and we're supposed to see an error, but the error is only showing up here. It's not showing up here, but it's showing up in the console here. In case you can't see it, you can see something wrong has happened, which is this. So that's the .then and .catch way of working with promises. So you just say a promise, you have something that is a promise, that thing .then, and then do what you want with it. Now that we have results, we could do some stuff with it, I don't know, aside from just printing it to the console, we could put it in our work. Let's say you have an HTML page. And this promise was to get skills of somebody. You could now put them in p tags and display them on the page, something like that. Yeah, but we don't really have anything to do with it, so I just log in it. Again, if you have an error, you could do something when you have an error. Say throw up an alert. Say, sorry, this is what happened. But we don't really want to do that, so we're just logging it. But at least this way you can tell. If there's a promise, .then will give you the results if the promise operation was successful, and .catch will give you this if it wasn't. So let's play around a bit and switch their order and see what happens. So we have .catch first, and then we have .then. So funny story, we're still getting this, but this one is also still running, and the result is undefined. But when they were the right way up, .then didn't run, right? But .catch ran. So that's that. So anyway, aside from this way, this .then and .catch method of working with promises, there is also another, async await. I think that was come up with because this .then and .catch way is frankly pretty annoying. Because what this means now is that you see this result that is here. You only have access to this result inside this .then. The moment you leave this .then, you don't have the result anymore. So that makes it incredibly troublesome to work with promises. As in, you have a bunch of things. Let's say you are fetching from somewhere. It means that your whole function must now be inside this .then. The whole things you want to happen with this result should be inside this .then. Because here, this is a promise, meaning that this is like an asynchronous way of handling promises. Sorry, asynchronous way of handling promises, because I mean, if you had some bunch of codes, let's do some things down here. Say const obj is equal to name obj dot location is obj okay, let me do something. Okay. I want to turn Quokka off and turn it back on. So let's watch this console log here and this console log here. This is going to return a result. So we're expecting a console log. We're expecting something here, and we're also expecting something here. They ended up showing up at the same time. I think we should use this. I think we should use this instead. This was what I wanted to see. This is why I said it is synchronous. Because you look at this. This was at the end, but this showed up first. Okay. Then we get this one from line 15 and this one from line 40. So after the normal synchronous code, we now started having the promises show up. So that means it got to those promises because of the .then and .catch and treated them in a synchronous way. It just moved them to one corner and kept on reading things. Okay. So at the end of the day, it logged this one first. And then after some time, this one, this one. Although this one is not really a promise, it's just set timeout, but it's also asynchronous. There's an order for these things. Watching which one does come first. I think we'll also check that later. Between something like set timeout and promises, which one runs, which one will be worked on earlier. But anyway, I hope we got this about how this is an asynchronous way of handling handling promises. So when JavaScript ran, it made this promise, left it, just left it running in the background, and moved on and did this one. So let's look at another way of handling promises. So it's called this. Although you may kind of see it called just async await. I don't know. I kind of like the AND because it gives you that impression that they are two different things, which they kind of are. You need async outside the function to tell the function that the function is asynchronous. And then when you have async outside the function, meaning the function is asynchronous, you can now use await inside the function. If you don't have async outside, you can't use await inside. So there are two things that just work hand in hand, but they are two different things. So async await, let's try this again. So const this will give us the wrong idea. Let's call this my function, my func. So async this and then we now have so inside the synchronous functions, whenever you do await, for example, you say const results is equal to do promise. When you have something that is a promise like this, you can await it. And when you await it, you are only getting the result, the .then. You are not going to get the error. It's important to keep that in mind. With this synchronous way, you have .then, .catch, you can get both of them. But with async await, you are only going to be awaiting, you're only going to be getting the result, not the error, if the error shows up. So anyway, let's console log this. I like to do this so we can easily tell that this is results we are seeing. Nothing. Okay, is it of this? Oh, God, this is just that picture I posted before. I'm expecting this function to run, but I'm not calling the function. Okay, my funk. All right, so we're getting the result. But anyway, I'm curious. If this was still around, would we still see this result and this result? Okay, we can still see both of them. That's fine. So now, about that thing I was saying earlier. Let's move these into my funk and see how they would fare in the browser especially. Is this thing still living in the past? Oh, I've not saved. Great. So you see the difference now. This time around, it got to results. It got to the await. And this await is going to make the entire code pause until this promise has been resolved. It's either fulfilled or rejected before any other code will continue running. Which is why we see results first before we see OBJ. So that's one of the differences between these two. This one is just going to pause, go on side, while other things below will keep running. But with this await, the code will actually wait. So the sweet part of this now is that you're not confined to a .then that you can only have access to the results of your promise inside this place. No, you can actually store it nicely in a variable and do whatever the hell you want to do with it right after. Because
Hello?
Yeah.
Please, can you take these differences again? My network was disturbing when you explaining it. Sorry.
Okay, so we've come across two differences so far. Maybe even three. With this .then and .catch, this is what we can call a synchronous way of dealing with promises. So if you deal with promises this way, when the executor of JavaScript reaches this promise, it's just going to file it in one corner. It's going to push it to a special stack for asynchronous stuff, right? And then it will go down and continue running the rest of the code it sees. Which is why when we were not using this async await and we checked the browser, the first thing we saw was this console log, right? We saw GU location ABJ first, and then later we now started seeing all these promises and set timeouts, console logs coming after. But inside, when we had these two, inside async await, with the await, the entire function would pause until this do promise has been resolved. Then it will assign it to results and continue moving on like that. Anytime, in an asynchronous function, it meets the keyword await, it will wait. It won't bother checking the rest of it. It will wait first. Resolve the promise and then move on. So that's one difference. Another difference is that when you do await on a promise, you are only expecting to get the result, right? If the promise is fulfilled, that's the only thing you're going to get out of here. You will not get the error just by doing this. Okay? You need to do something else later on to get the error. But just doing await, you're only going to get the result. Is there a third I guess the third one is kind of linked to the first. Well, I guess, okay, the third one now is that in a in this method, in this synchronous method of dealing with promises, you only have access to the results inside this .then method, nowhere else. So you are confined, you are forced to write all your code inside here, like all your code that needs this result. So you can't, it's what's the word now? It's a bit confining, it's a bit constraining, forcing you to do this. But with the async await, you are freer. You know, you can have your whole code wait for you to get this, assign it to a variable, and then you can now happily do what you want. This is the freer method of doing things. Okay. So those are the three things we've seen so far. So now, are there any questions before we move on?
No.
No.
Can
So
go on.
okay, from what
I
we've
have a
learned,
question.
so okay, yeah.
I think I still have not understood. Please, can you move forward? Upward, sorry.
So where?
Okay, this place that you wrote this promise, where
Yeah.
you wrote resolve and regret, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So are you saying that because I want to understand this um the set time math part, I didn't really get the explanation to this one. I know that for promises there are two outcomes. Either you use this dot then or the dot cash.
Yeah.
Dot then is when it happens. That's when it's fulfilled. That's what you will
Yes.
get. Then when it's not fulfilled, an error message will prompt that this is why it was not fulfilled. But what I don't understand is this your function that you wrote here. I don't get it.
Okay, these skills and whatnot in here.
I could not really get it.
Okay. Okay, then let's try something else. Let's remove this. Just comment it out. And we're going to try something else instead. Something that would make more sense. So can you give me a simple, I want to get a random number between 0 and 10. Just something less than 10. Random number.
Four.
No, I mean code to generate a random number.
Okay, let me random.
I was definitely going to write one dot
Random.
Okay.
Times come outside of your this thing. Times
Okay.
11. Sure, you said it's from 0 to what?
0 to
0
9, I think.
no, 10.
Okay, you want 0 to 10. All right, fine. 0 to 10.
This one is for 0 to
Okay.
10. 0 to 9 will be, you will put 10 in that 11 place.
So are we just going to leave it like this?
No, you will now do floor.
Where will I do it?
Where you have it on line 36, you put that round in bracket. Then put before yes dot floor. Everything including the 11.
No be waiting you talk before now until
That place. That's it.
all right, thank you. So now we're going to have an if, right? So if do we say 5? If it's less than 5, yeah. So if it's greater than 5, if random number is greater than 5, then we're successful. So we're going to resolve random num. And else we're going to reject with Sorry. Failing score. Okay, so does this make more sense? And this leaves it to chance more. I kind of like this. So generate a random number. It's greater than 5. The operation passed. So you resolve. If it's less, well, you reject. So we're going to get that. Okay, so because it failed, we're only getting this in down here.
Is
That
your
one is
Coca not
Coca's
working?
fault. No, it's Coca's fault. Coca doesn't really show dot catch error. I don't know. That's just how it does. But if we check the browser, we should see. Oh, I've not saved. Although we might see something else. Okay, it still failed. Your score of 5 is a failing score. Ah, that's true. Is 5 not supposed to be a passing score? If it's over 10. Maybe we should adjust that. So greater than or equal to 5. But no, let more people fail. Let more people fail. 5 is okay. It's a failing score. So yeah, you can see what's happening here, right? Const result is equal to our weight due promise. That's it. We did not get the results. We got error instead. And so this one is not run, this one is not run, this one is not run, this one is not run. Like, it's actually behaving like an error. Remember when we did error handling? You notice that whenever your code runs into an error, all the lines under there don't run. Yes.
Okay.
So this is actually an error. So now, from what we've learned before, how would you handle this error? Already the synchronous method has its way. You know, you say dot catch, and then you can see the error. Fine. But now in this asynchronous way with await, how would you handle the error? How would you know what the error is? It's all of you I'm asking, it's not only just you. Because all of you are present for the classes we've had before. I should be pointing fingers. Abiola, I did not see when you came in. So how far? Can you help us? Hello? Abiola, are you with us? I don't know. I think I should go and be getting another meet link, the type that I can use to be kicking people out. Some people are not answering questions. For this one, I don't have any rights to kick anybody out here. So anybody?
Sorry, I did not quite get the question.
Didn't get the question.
Try
Look at this. Okay, yes, Bashir is correct. It's a try-catch. If you look over here, well, first of all, on line 50, you can see that this promise resulted in an error. We're getting the catch. The catch block is the one returning something. And you can see down here, your score of 2 is a failing score. So I'm guessing that's what happened here as well. I mean, the promise resolved 2. So whether it's this promise here or this, they are both the same thing. So we're both getting this. And remember how I said when you await, you're only getting the result, you're not getting the error. Rather, if the promise actually ends up rejected, it's going to throw an error. And you can see the rest of this code behaving like truly line 56 is an error. Because 57 did not run, neither did any of these. So the question was, how would you work with that error? How would you handle that error? And Bashir gave the correct answer. Try and catch. This is why you learned error handling before you came down there. So down is better. So try catch. So we're going to do this. And then in the catch block, we now have the liberty to do what we want with it. Oh, Poker really does not like displaying errors. So once again, we can see it happening. I don't know why this thing likes failing people. It gave us 5 this time around. Last one was 4. Now it's 5. So yeah, this failed again, and so nothing ran. Instead, it jumped to the catch block, and we're going to see this. So if we save this and go look at the browser, hopefully it's another failing grade again. It's not. Wow, 10 this time around. That's horrible. 9. Yes, it failed. So sorry, your score of 5 is a failing score, and this is happening on line 65, where we had console.error. So that's how you work with promises in an asynchronous way. You definitely have to use a try and catch, or you're just going to run into problems. So if it works out, you work with your results, blah, blah, blah. If it doesn't, this place is going to catch it, and you'll do whatever you need to do. Of course, you can also have a finally. So remember what this does. Just in case of anything. One of the reasons or situations I told you that is good for finally is if you have a button, let's say a button that loads or tries to make a fetch or something asynchronous, and you are saying something like, what's written on the button is submit, or while the promise is running, while the promise is pending rather, what will be there will be submitting. You understand? Whether the promise is fulfilled or rejected, you want to change that submitting back to submit. So you could either change it here after this whole code finishes running, or you change it here after the code has failed. Or you could just come over here finally and do it one time, and it will be effective everywhere. So anything you want to happen, regardless of success or failure, finally is the best place to do it. So yeah, this is that. But yeah, your question.
Is finally and promise.all, is it the same thing?
No, it's not. But you understand the finally I just explained, right?
Sorry, can you come again on it? I didn't really guess. You said
Finally is for something you want to happen, whether there is success or there is failure. Whether the try block ran successfully or it entered, an error happened and it was a catch block that ended up running. You want that thing to happen. I gave a good example now. You have a button, let's say a login button, and it's writing login. But when you click the login button, obviously it's going to make a fetch to an API, which is a promise, right? So during that period, when you click the button and the promise is pending, maybe you want to change that login to, I don't know, one of these SVGs, these spinners. You know those spinners? Now
Hello,
that people
sir.
like to
Hello,
use?
Edward.
Yes,
Hello.
I can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
I
Please,
can hear you.
is this class recorded?
Yeah, it is. Are you not the one that asked me for?
Oh, No, 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 not me. I
Okay,
want
also,
to quickly do something. I might take some time before coming back.
have fun.
Yeah, thank
Yeah. All right, you have a login button. You click the button, you see a spinner. Whether the person finishes logging in successfully or the login process failed because they entered wrong parameters, you want that spinner to change, to go back to being login. Okay, so that's a situation where whether it succeeds or fails, you want something to happen. So finally is the best place to do that. If you don't want to use finally, then it means you do that thing here and do it here, two places. You can just come down here and do it once and for all. So that's finally. You get finally now, Bashir.
Yes, I do.
All right, so promise.all, you asked about promise.all. Um, you know what? Let's create another promise. So second promise is going to be equal to the new promise. I think I can just use this to kill two birds with one stone. Now, as you can tell, this resolve and reject are just parameters in this callback, right? The first one is always going to be resolved, even if you don't call it resolve. Remember how callbacks work, like your map function, your map function for arrays. The first thing is always item or element. The second is index. The third is array. It doesn't matter what you write there. That's just how that's just what the callback is expecting. Okay. So that's how it is here too. The first thing is resolve. The second thing is reject. But it's not by force to pass both of them. There are some promises you write that you just want to resolve. You don't want it to ever fail. A good example is when you're trying to buy time. You have a button, say login button, and at the moment you don't really have the API you're going to call, that is actually going to log in. So you can just try to make a kind of, we call it the bouncer. Let's call this the bouncer instead of second promise. You see, the bounce is just a way to waste time. The word the bounce, at least in programming terms, is a way to delay a request.
I thought it was a
So,
package.
you thought it was a
Package.
well, packages have strange names, so I won't be surprised if there's a package named the bounce. It actually makes sense. A package that you can call to just put any amount of delay time you want. But the bounce just means you want to waste time. So a good example is you don't have an API to call, but you want to give somebody the effect of, yeah, we're actually making a call behind the scenes, but don't worry. Something like that. So again, we have set timeout because we just love our set timeouts. And let's say it's slow network, so we're going to wait for 4 seconds. Yeah, and after 4 seconds, we just want to resolve. Yeah, just like that, just resolve something. This is also a promise. You know that, right? So if you click the button and you call this, yeah, it's going to wait 4 seconds to give you true. That's it. Okay, so now back to promise.all. So you see, we have my func over here. So let me remove this call, right? And and create another function. So this time around, here we used asynchronous arrow function. So I'm going to try to use asynchronous declarative function. So async function do all. Feels better like this. So in this do all now, we're going to say const both results is equal to await promise.all. So promise.all is a way to will I say get the results of two promises at the same time.
Or more.
Yeah, that's true. Two or more, I forgot that. Don't mind me, sorry. So promise.all takes an array, and then you're going to put whatever you want inside the array. So we want two things. We want, what's that first one called? So it was the bounce, and the second one is do promise. So the bounce and do promise. And we have this too. Oh, no, I was wondering why that was showing. Okay, both results. So let's go look at the browser. Ah, man, I'm doing it again. Something is just wrong with me today. Wow, this time is 0. So let me see. Let's get a passing grade and see what happens. Now it's failure time. Great. So both results, and we get an array. One is true, the other is 9. So what have you noticed from these two times that one of the promises kept failing, kept getting rejected? Of course, we know that the first one was always, getting fulfilled, but one has been failing. What have you noticed in those times?
When one fail, the thing will not work.
Exactly. It will become an error and you see.
No move.
So that's one dangerous thing about promise though. Or if one fails, go to law for all your results. So that's about ideally you see how it works now. In an ideal world, you're making requests, you're expecting all of them to pass. promise of all is great. You get both of them at the same time. So
It's there's something that anytime that I give you example, you say you will always say you want to go and fetch using the API. I don't used to understand that thing that you say.
you don't understand it. Oh
Uh,
shit. You guys might have to give me like 5 minutes.
okay. Also, Alpha now.
Mercy Adeo, how about you?
What do you do inside cloth too? Basha, what's up?
I'm fine, you know. How you did?
I did good though. Basha and Shina, so una
Just,
don dey.
just leave us for subgroup. You don't take away where I see say you disturb.
Abeg no vex, Basha. No vex. I go still call
Eh?
disturb. No vex. These few days, I don't know wetin dey even dey do me. I just withdraw somehow. You know what I dey?
You dey draw, kid. No withdraw. You more dey put fire for your nyash now.
I dey wanna put fire on no because I need the ginger. Honestly, I don go back well for things wey I suppose to don know. Honestly. All these things wey Edward dey teach. I know verse. I know maybe because I've said I never apply am. The only thing why they get, if not the example where they give, like when you want do button, and then you not delay those ones, those one they make sense. Basha, you don't use these things before.
I still use that today.
Not making the thing they flow for you. They easy for you. You know, so what about you now?
It's not easy.
Yes, I used it recently.
I now only me that know what they do. I don't know. More like put me through.
Just chill. I feel like you have a project you're working on now, abi?
I have a project I'm working on,
Maybe
but before I go
maybe you
feed the
can
dog
tell
the jam.
Gio to give you like I think there are free APIs that you can use if you want to show data on your page
What's the
dynamically.
API? Wait first, no verse. What's the API?
Okay, APIs, they are the full meaning is application programming interface. Here, let me just use this basic example that came to my mind. It's just like when you have a restaurant, yeah? The places where you sit down is the front end. That's the beauty of it. The back end is the kitchen where the food is being made. Then the waiter that you send errand is the API. So you send, when you
Sorry,
come in, you sit
there's
in
an
the
image.
front end part of things.
Mm-hmm.
Then you send the waiter, which is the API, to the back end, which is the kitchen, to go and
Yes.
get food or get your order, whatever you need to show on that front end, which is
Yes.
your table or whatever, is the
Yes.
API now, which is the waiter in this case. I will go and get it and feed it to your front end. That's basically
Okay.
what APIs are.
Okay, I understand this analogy. Okay, now give me an example that, for instance, I have a website and I feed a form online, right? I feed a form online. Now, when I click on submit, that is my data, right? Like, what if you want
Yeah?
to open? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, see, I go online, I have maybe an account with Facebook. When I want to sign up for Facebook, I will fill my information for the first time. You understand?
Yes.
So now Facebook has saved my information and I will not open an account. Abi?
Yes.
So if for instance I want to see those information that I have filled, is that what I will now go to my profile? Then
Okay, those information that you filled now, they are sent to a database.
okay.
Now, to be able to get them, or in this case, fetch them from that database, That's where
Yes.
you use your APIs.
Okay, I get your hair. Okay, so it's okay. Maybe when I'm writing the code, that's when I will not put the API inside.
Yes,
Okay. I've not, I
that's it.
don't, I
It's
don't
like
know
a
that.
link.
Okay, like
I
a,
think
okay,
Gio is back. Let's let him finish.
When you
okay.
are
Hello,
when you
guys. Yeah, sorry about the. I just had to take care of something.
Okay.
Okay, so I see you're very curious about what's it called? About that thing, APIs. So let's see if network would allow us to, you know, properly experiment with it very well. I noticed I have a problem accessing this MongoDB. So there's, even if we check over here, the next thing actually, after all this, is the fetch API. It's supposed to just take a look at um, getting data from, anyway, just using the APIs, whether fetch or so whether post or get something, but this one is a get request. Okay, that's really the last thing. So I'm hoping this would open. There are a few databases I've created. So hopefully we can use one of them and go look at, let's say, putting in data into a database, fetching in data, something like that. I think it should be quite fun. Okay. Anyway, while it's trying to open, let's just use this one. REST countries. Have you used this before? There's this very popular
yes, you want to do
challenge in front-end mentor. I think you would need this REST countries API. It's kind of fun to use. Anyway, so I think I'll turn off Coca here because when it comes to making fetches, Coca always goes crazy. So did I not turn off Coca? Oh, I did it. Let me call it now before I finish writing and forget. So what do we start with? This is an asynchronous function. Yeah. What are we starting with? In an asynchronous function, always try to start with try and catch because you're most likely going to do something that you need to do it anyway. So const result is equal to fetch. Now, the fetch method or the fetch API is basically just available on every browser, right? So it helps you make requests to API pretty easily. Alternatively, you could use packages like Axios. They're very popular and it's in a lot of cases it's actually better you just use Axios. It offers some, nice things. But for simple something like this, there's really no need to go that far. So fetch takes in a URL. I've not really bothered trying this request input thing. The first input is usually a URL, and the next is options. I guess that's the request in it. So of course it's asynchronous, so it returns a promise. So this is our URL. We want to get the data that is in REST countries version 2, or I think they're in version 3 now. I don't use v3. So this is not really necessary because options are not really necessary because it's a GET request. But if it were to be a POST request, then you might see things like method, method is POST, things like body, because in a POST request you'll be sending data. So probably you have JSON.stringify, have an object in there, maybe some headers as well. But let's leave this out for now. These aren't necessary for most GET requests. I say most because in most serious situations, you find out that even for GET requests, you have to send headers because of token. You have users or a backend system that uses token to to validate users, to know if this is a valid user, a valid authorized user. So you'd still have to do that. Right now we don't. So yeah, just like this. And if we see result is promise response. Now this response, let's just log this shell. Console.log results. But generally, when you get a response like this response is not really the final data. So you still need to do something a little bit more. So const data is equal to results.json. Right. I forgot that we have to await it. So even this too, we are waiting the result of this fetch, and that goes here, and it's going to return a promise, a response, because now we are waiting. It's going to return a response. But to get data from this response, we need to use this method. The reason why we're using this method is that the response we are getting is going to have JSON data in it. So we need to use the .json method on the response. It's like on the response object, and we get the data. If the data getting sent was text, you need to use result.text. Although it's rare to get into those situations where the backend will just send you text, like a string, just like that. Usually they use JSON. If they're sending you data like a blob, like a picture, video, just the raw data like that, then you might see yourself using results.blob. But again, I'll still stress it. For most transactions, most things, most APIs, they give you JSON data. So this is what you see most commonly, result.json. So once again, we log that. It's not always okay. We can open, I think we should have a fun time a little bit. Okay, so I'm just going to turn off these other ones. I'm going to comment them out or something. I don't want them distracting what we're doing. So do all, go on sleep. I don't know if you guys are also getting this thing. This one. Retrieving BX stateful inline flag. Anything I'm doing with Chrome browser, I always get this thing in it. Oh, one password. Oh, that's nice. I think I see why now. The line 34. Sorry, I think I missed one thing. 34. Where am I calling do promise? This one is not being, I'm not calling my funk anywhere now, so this is very surprising. Anyway, so the first thing was result, right? It's a response. And this is typically what you'd see in a response. You have body, you have headers, you may not see anything inside the headers, yeah? Okay, I guess there are no headers sent back. Okay, true. Redirected false. Now status, this is where you start thinking about status codes. 200, 201, 400, 401, lot different kinds of things. But generally you want to see 200 because 200 means, okay, everything went well. 201 usually for created. So usually when you register, your status will be 201. Of course, the status are not automatic. It's the backend people that are using them, but then it's kind of a standard, so they will try to conform to the standards rather. So if just a regular request, they'll send you 200. You created something 201. You gave them bad parameters, they give you 400 bad requests. Somebody is not authorized, I think they give you 401. Different things like that. But now the data itself, this is what we get. An array with 250 items. And inside that array, well, this is just how each thing is. Blah, 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 blah. All this plenty data. About 250 countries in the world. That's sad. This thing, I don't think we'll be able to really see it. So what could we do that would make something fun? Okay, so the last time when I was taking this promises class, we used this to have a better idea of promises. I suppose first of all we should let it load well. So we'll run this. All right. So this is data from that REST countries, and nicely displayed here, right? So let's go look at what code is making that happen. So first of all, we have the header up there. We don't need to see that. This is the line for the search bar. And this is the main stuff. So we just have this loading screen that shows up when something is loading. And then we have this empty div for countries. So ideally in the HTML, the countries has nothing in it until this one runs, this index.js. So in index.js, we have a bunch of things. Yeah. Some of these were for different things. The code was written long ago. So ideally, if you're doing this, actually this code has a bunch of things. Like this one is for the switcher. But this shouldn't be here because this is on every page. It's on index, it's in search page, it's in single country page. So this should have been a separate JavaScript file on its own. I think it's these two together. Should have been a separate JavaScript file on its own so that I will just have to import it in 3 different, all the files that need it. And not having to write it here and in country.js, where is it? It's written again. That was a waste of code. Should have been written in one place. But anyway, all that aside, the thing we are looking for is actually this, fetch countries. So here I used .den, and this will give you an idea of how annoying .den is. So fetch countries, first of all, I'll remove, okay. This is the loading screen. It has a class called hide on it that makes it not show up normally. But whenever I'm fetching countries, I want it to show up and cover everywhere. So I'm removing the class hide so it will show up and just be rotating, blah, blah, blah. And then, yeah, this countries, the inner HTML empty string is just saying if I thought there was anything. Most of these would make sense later on when we do DOM manipulation. But that countries you saw, I got it. This is the countries. I called it countries here, right? If we go up, we'll see this line. So countries is query selector, the element with ID of countries. And that's this with the ID of countries. So I'm just basically saying if there was anything inside it, remove it. Let it just be empty. So we're fetching all from REST countries, all the data they have. And the first thing we're going to get is that response, the one that we put in results in the example we did earlier. But to read the data from it, you need to do response.json, like you saw we did before. There we did result.json. Here I'm saying response.json because I called whatever is coming out of here response. So response.json, but that also returns a promise. So then we need to do .den again to see the result of that promise. And so we get data. And so for countries data, I'm just going to map through it and return these things because you saw that list of things, right? It was a lot. Let's open it again. So inside everything, inside every country object, there is this plenty stuff. This is too big. And alternate spellings, area, borders, capital, all this kind of stuff. I'm not even sure. Okay, car. God, that the car, this thing, their driving side is on their driving wheel, steering wheel is on the right. CCA2, CCA3, just a large bunch of info about each country. I don't need all of them to display this because this is what I want to display. I need their flag, I need their name, I need population, the continent, the capital. That's really all I need. So, the other things, I don't need them. So I just needed to reduce that list. So map was a good idea to reduce the list. Yeah. And so when I'm done, I'll now display countries. So I have a function that will just take an array of this kind of information and do something with it. And then catch error. So if there's an error, do this. Yeah. And so I call fetch countries. And over here is display countries. So it's just going to take that information, kind of put it inside this template and add that template later on to inside countries. And when that is all done, I add back hides to the loading screen, and so the loading screen goes away. So essentially that's what happens. Hey, but this thing I did here would have happened in here, but in a way to sort of make this place look nicer, neater, I now made it a function and called it here. I could also have done the same for this, create a function that would take this wild raw data coming from that API and just reduce it nicely like this, and also do this. So look at this I added at the end. Sort, random. So the way sort works is about positive or negative numbers. So usually you do minus something like A minus B or B minus A to go from the starting to the ending or the ending to the starting. Well, I wanted it very random. And so I did this, mat.random minus mat.random. So it will just be arranged anyhow, which means every time you refresh this, you would always see a different arrangement. Yeah. So I thought that was quite fun. Anyway, do we have any questions so far on promises, making requests, APIs, something like that?
Can I get this your project, sir? Can you push it to GitHub?
Why do you want to get it?
I want to study it.
Why don't you do your own and encounter problems and face it there? The project is you will find it in what's that place? Frontend Mentor. It's a very popular project in Frontend Mentor. They will give you pictures. Yeah, let's go look at. They'll give you pictures. So people that are looking for what to do, Frontend Mentor is a nice place to go. Yeah, exactly. Escape tutorial hell. They have fine projects here. Don't just be learning. Use it and build something. They have really, really simple projects. They have also, tougher projects. Let's go see the challenges. So nobody get excuse. You see, there's this is a simple project. Just do this. It's for newbies, so you know your level. You know the one where you go to. There's this nice hangman game too. Nice things to do.
That's premium.
So that's premium. Oh, premium. Oh, I see. There are also other ones that are not premium. Okay, let's filter out the free. Let's just go for free ones. And free plus. That's nice. Let's not be window shopping difficult things. So this is also a nice one. And they say it's for newbie. This is for newbie JS people. You know accordions, right? Accordions are this FAQ. FAQ is the best place to talk about.
Sorry.
To give an
This
example of accordion.
project now. If you use
Yes. React, do it. You do not finish your question. I think we did this in HTML CSS one day. I know Jojo know they miss HTML CSS class. You remember this one?
Even that one, we don't do this one. We don't do that one where they say months,
Don't-
years.
Months, yes. Did we pass it?
Component.
Okay, this one. Okay.
Yes, that I remember this one.
Okay. So you see, this place has lots of fine things. Anybody that is looking forward to do, come here. This is one of the best free projects. This one. That's why it's even free plus. It's a very, very fine project. I don't know. Sometimes I don't like searching for things. I just like to be window shopping until I see it. Yeah, there we are. So advanced, and it's free. Isn't that nice? So if you want to do it, advanced is just because of API now. Yeah. Yes. So you think you are not advanced?
I'm not advanced. I don't need to think.
You don't need to think. Okay. Okay. Anyhow, you don't have to wait until you know everything. You can start for now, right? Try and get this one down, like the basic, this thing, the header, this one. Just put stuff in them. Okay. This one, you can easily. How do I put it? Get the data and put them yourself. You saw the endpoint now. REST countries, blah, blah, blah. You can just search REST countries. You see it. You see their endpoint. So you can get their data easily. Get the link for the flags. Even if you just do only four countries and just duplicate it like to full screen. You understand? Just be doing the rest so that maybe 2 weeks time or so we should enter DOM. Then you know how to manipulate DOM and you can add that to your project. But if you keep waiting until you know everything about your project, time will just be passing and you're not doing anything. So start something. Do this header. Do this one. Do this one. Do a sample of this card. Yeah, just 4. Duplicate it full ground, or even just one. So duplicate it full ground and keep single page for a country. Do 2. And later on, you learn about DOM manipulation. You can do dark mode something. But just getting this one to look like this alone. Let me zoom this a bit more. Just getting this to look like this. I'm curious to see how you decide to go about it. You have a bunch of cards. You just want them to line side by side. How would you do it? See, these are things you can do right now. They are within your knowledge. So do these ones.
Is it not just to design this thing like this?
You say what?
Is it not just to design it like this using HTML and CSS?
Yeah, that's it now. That's it.
Another one is, what I don't understand is the API part.
The API part. Okay, but now you get the API part, right? If you had an API, you wanted to get data from it. It's simple, right? Is it not? This
Wait
is
first. Okay. Okay, now I've designed that country page with the different countries. I've designed it in that place.
Are you saying you have, or you're saying this like?
No, I'm just giving an instance, like from what you have explained. That I will design each of the country flags. I will design it. So there's one,
you just need one. You just need to do one, and maybe you can duplicate it, full ground, so that we'll just be seeing the same country but you need one template. If you can remember from here, from this place, where am I? Here. After I got all these countries, when I got the data, I just Does this part confuse you? The data is that 250 item array that has, those plenty stuff. So I'm just mapping through it and returning specific things that I want. So the name, population, continent, capital, flag, code, borders, right?
Okay.
I just wanted this information. This one is not confusing. It's just a map and then get data. The sort, if you want safe, you cannot put it. It's me that just wanted to do random things. So I put it. It's not necessary. Yeah. And then over here, I just took that array and put inside this place. And this place, what's happening is that this code now is a template. This is the code for one flag, for one card, one country card. So that's what I'm telling you, that you just need to do one. If you do one in your HTML parts, you could just carry this thing over here, like paste it, duplicate it, maybe up to 20. So you just have 20 cards. They'll look exactly the same.
I understand that one.
You understand that one. So when you now cut that code, when later you've learned all you need to do, you cut that code and come here. It's just for you to start replacing things. You can see that what I'm using here is template literals. It's not normal code, it's template literals, so I can put things as I want inside here. So this is, the whole thing is wrapped in a link, so that if I click on any country, it will take me to, a separate page where I'll see details for that country. Like Zambia, like this, I clicked and I came here.
Okay.
So, this place can't zoom, but if you look over here, you'll see country.html country is equal to ZMB. That's the link that I opened up. And if you look here, you see that the href in this place is country.html country is equal to something. The code for that item. Remember, part of the things we did was code. And so the code is always a 3-letter something, like NGA, USA, I don't know what UK will be. Okay, it will be GB, Great Britain, I think. Something like that, sure. That kind of thing. So that's it. For flags, the image source, you put the flag link there. Flag of so and so country, you put the name. You see, this is just a template, things will just be changing inside. That's it. So for every item inside that array, every object inside that array, is just going to create this thing and put inside this country's elements. This country's elements. That's just what it's just going to do. And that's it. You've displayed something. So this part was not really difficult. You find out when you do this thing that the hard part is actually the HTML part. The JS is just a little bit of knowledge that you don't have. But the thing that will take you time is that HTML and CSS. So that's the hard part. Do it first. Anybody that wants to do this thing, don't wait until you've gotten to DOM manipulation and you can now be boss. No, the hard part is actually that HTML, CSS. So do it first. So any questions about this? I know you can ask all the questions you want, but the thing is that you will understand more the day you start trying to do it. So even though I'm sure right now you still tell me that you don't fully get it.
No problem. At least I have an idea that it exists. Okay. If I see something, even though I don't understand it fully, I will now know that, oh, this is what they're talking about.
Exactly, that's the thing. When you know it exists, you are halfway there. You can always look for it. You can always know because you now know it exists. It's possible. So that's that. Unfortunately, this one decided to play hard to get, so another time. So I think we're done for today.
But can somebody build with phone?
Yeah.
You if you transfer the code to your system, will it be the same?
I've not tried building a phone, but it should be the same.
Thanks
So
for the
how
class.
would you? Yeah, welcome. It will get saved into whatever format. It's like if you're writing JS, to be .js now. Anywhere you take a .js file to, it will still remain .js. So your code should still be the same. If you do
No, I mean for the HTML and CSS. If
like
you
I said,
put the right,
the format is still going to be the same. If you have some kind of code editor on your phone and you create index.html and write code in it, and later on you send that .html file to your system, it's not going to corrupt the file or anything. It's still going to remain a .html file.
and what I mean is that with the arrangement, the way you see it, and part the way you set the CSS, will it still give you the same outcome? Because
Yes, it will. An HTML file on your phone is the same HTML file on your system. The problem is that you are going to find it very tough to write code on your phone. You know now, because of the small screen, the tiny
that's
keyboard.
what I'm
and
saying.
stuff that.
Like, because when I try to do align item, justify content, it's not coming out. Normally, if it's my system, it will be in the middle of the. If this is if it's a container, align
Yeah.
item, justify content, align like justified content and align item. To put it at the middle, but I'm seeing that my own is up.